Welcome to the Unbound Priestess podcast, a transformative space where we delve into potent conversations, guided practices, and profound teachings designed to help you nourish your sacred gifts, reclaim your personal power, and break free from limiting beliefs. Welcome, witches. Welcome, mystics. You're listening to the Unbound Priestess podcast. I'm Leandra Witchwood, and this is a space for sovereignty, discernment, and embodied power. Before we get into today's topic, I want to set a very clear and grounded container. This episode is not about fear. It's not about fear mongering. It's not about dredging up suspicion, paranoia. It is not about assuming unseen forces are everywhere and they're out to get you. This episode is about psychic literacy. It is about living in a physical world where surveillance exists, where boundaries matter, and where consent can be violated. We also live in a subtle world where our own ecology, our ethics, our dynamics can be vulnerable. Learning to navigate the world does not make you paranoid. And this episode is not meant to instill paranoia. It is about recognizing the patterns, being literate with your energy and the energy around you. So today, what are we talking about? We are talking about what in my tradition we called spiritual or psychic spies. I sometimes call them spiritual narcs or psychic narcs. And that's exactly what they are. They are narcs of the psychic world. They are not random impressions. They are not mere intuition impressions or impressions of intuition. They're not psychic pulses. They are not your anxiety dressed up in mysticism. And they go well beyond the ego. They are intentional, directed forms of spiritual surveillance. And before we go any further, I want to name something important. I want to remind us all of something important. If you're listening to this episode and you are experiencing a sense of compulsion, paranoia, unreasonable anxiety, trauma responses, or other issues that disrupt your daily life and well-being, please seek a mental health professional. If at any point in this episode things feel activating, they feel destabilizing, you feel ungrounded, step away, reach out for support, and come back to it when you're ready. What is a psychic spy, a psychic narc? In my tradition, they're not a random spirit passing through. They're not emotional residue. They're not an empathic bleed. A psychic spy is something that has been intentionally directed at you. It is assigned a role related to you and your activities. It is tethered to a person, place, or group of people to gain information. This psychic spirit is tasked with observing and reporting. It may be spirit-based or egregore-based or intermediary-based in nature. The key is distinction. Psychic spies are not neutral. They are purposeful. They differ from general psychic impressions in one critical way. They are not communicating solely through awareness. They are arriving into your awareness. This is why discernment matters. Without discernment, people either dismiss real energetic boundary violations or they assume the worst and they think everything is a violation, everything is an attack. Neither is healthy. That's why we're having this discussion. So the functional role of these psychic spies, these psychic narcs, is specific. They are here not necessarily to attack, but they're here to observe and report. Their functions might include monitoring your emotional states, tracking your movements, your vulnerabilities, or your power fluctuations, your loose boundaries. When is the best time to infiltrate? They might observe rituals, spells for timing and spiritual workings that are too open, that are not protected. They might map or track your relationships or your energetic patterns. They are particularly drawn to healers, leaders, teachers, group facilitators, people holding influence or space who are often visible. And this might be when you're tired, might be when you're sick or injured, when you're too open, when you're emotionally raw, when you're spiritually activated, or when you're onto something, when you're so close to manifesting what you've been working so hard to achieve. This information is then relayed to the person who employed the psychic narc. And sometimes this information is relayed symbolically, sometimes energetically, emotionally. It depends on the communication between the person who employed the narc and the narc itself. And this is important. Not all information gathered through these psychic spies is malicious. I want to be very clear about that. But all non consensual observation is a boundary violation. So I'm going to look at why someone might deploy a psychic spy to look in on you. Motivation can have a lot of nuances. Let's talk about best scenarios, the best reason someone might want to spy on you. And really, there's no best in this, but sometimes people employ these spies. Sometimes they might not even realize they've done it, for one. But first, they might believe that you need their protection. You need their help. You need something watching over you or someone watching over you. And I don't believe that everyone who employs a psychic spy is a villain. Sometimes they just have the best intentions. Sometimes psychic spies are developed by overprotective elders, parents, anxious teachers, coven leaders with poor boundaries, coven leaders who are looking to gain more insight into what their students want and need, family members acting from fear or out of care. And sometimes it's just general curiosity. Sometimes people are just nosy. The intention may be something like, oh, I just want to make sure everything's okay. I'm watching over them. I need to know what's happening. I need to know what they really think or want. Good intentions do not equal ethical behavior. Surveillance without consent, even loving surveillance, is still a violation. Any violation against your privacy is something you need to address right away. Now that we looked at some of the best possible reasons someone might want to spy on you psychically, let's look at some of the worst intentions. The darker end of psychic spies. They can be used for control, competition. They want to look at what their competition is doing and one up them. Energetic leverage over you, monitoring any perceived threats you might have against them, valid or not. Information harvesting. This is most common in environments where power is hierarchical, resources might be scarce, spiritual authority is easily threatened or is easily decentralized, where someone as a leader doesn't feel solid in their ability to lead, where charisma is confused with leadership. Again, intent matters. But the impact psychic spies have on you and your life and and your privacy, this is what matters. And this is why we're talking about it. And I'm talking about it because we just had a very big discussion about psychic spies, psychic narcs, and what they are and how we can address them. And I figured if my friends are having this issue, then other people are as well. So let's look at how psychic spies gather their information. They usually appear subtly. It's not a dramatic appearance. They're not dramatic entities. They're usually pretty covert. They're quiet. They're persistent. They may even seem very, very familiar. Common methods include energetic tethering to your auric field or to an auric field, emotional resonance tracking, dream state observation, symbolic mirroring, and thought adjacent impressions. And I recently encountered the last two, which I'm going to vaguely talk about it because it is sensitive right now. I was talking with a friend. We were discussing spiritual leadership and what's missing with some teachers versus other teachers. And the conversation came up around ritual and how important ritual is in a group setting. And within a week, that person who was not in the conversation, who did not have any information relayed to them, suddenly popped up and was making statements related to what we were talking about, self-correcting, or appeared to be self-correcting. And that's immediately when I learned and noticed the pattern, because it wasn't the first time. So this is why we want to be very clear about the impressions we're getting and track them. We want to pay attention. We don't want to knee-jerk reaction, just assume that we're being attacked or watched. So that was just one example of how I've experienced this psychic narc phenomenon in my practice. And psychic narcs often rely on moments when you're tired. Maybe you're sick or injured. When you're emotionally vulnerable. They wait for moments when your boundaries are too relaxed. Moments when rituals and spells are not contained, they're not protected. Being too open is a gateway for them to come in and observe what you're doing and report back. This is why daily grounding, daily boundary maintenance matters so much in this practice. And it's not about being dramatic. It's not about being paranoid again. It's about intentional rituals that protect your energy and your movements. Now, psychic spies show up in many different ways, and they don't necessarily feel like you're being attacked or watched. They can feel very familiar. They can feel like you're being watched during certain activities, but it's subtle. It's not enough for you to go, whoa, what's going on over here? Let me shut this down necessarily. They can feel like sacred moments are being interrupted. They can feel like being watched during specific activities, but not enough for your alarms to fully go off. They can interrupt certain sacred moments, prayer, meditation. You might have a sense of a presence without that threat. So, again, being very subtle, very much in the background. You might get repeated subtle disturbances that just kind of set you off enough that you're interrupted, but not enough for your wards or guardians or um, tripwires to go off. They often might feel static or familiar, a familiar static, a familiar interference that's just kind of always there. They will often show up when you are working spiritually. They'll show up in your dreams, in your sleep, when you are being visible, when you are emotionally open and vulnerable, or when you're close to manifesting something that you really have been working on for a long time. You've worked hard for it and you're so close to manifesting it. They don't usually cause direct pain, but they can cause confusion. And this is where your distinction and your personal boundaries, your energetic boundaries, are going to matter. So if you think that you are being psychically watched, let's be clear. One sign means nothing. Two signs might mean something. A pattern is what you need to look for. Unexplained energetic fatigue, especially around certain activities or certain people. An individual in your life might be mirroring you, borderline copying you, your actions, your impressions, your ideas. And this is information you did not share openly. It did not appear on your Instagram. It didn't show up in your socials. You didn't speak to anybody about this. But your ideas are being mirrored by either a competitor or a friend. Now, I'm using quotes, air quotes, on the word friend for those of you who are not watching the video, because their frenemies are a thing. Okay. We know this. And sometimes people keep us close to watch us, to ensure that that we are not doing anything that's going to make them look bad or make them look less than, right? Quick pause, because if any of this is resonating with you, but you still feel like you're missing something, you're not alone. Most witches aren't confused because they're doing it wrong. They're confused because no one ever taught them the skills or the context beneath the surface. That's why I created the Rebel Mystic Witchcraft skill trees. Each tree is a structured, grounded path that teaches you how different elements of witchcraft actually work. So you can build real confidence instead of second guessing yourself. If you're ready for clarity, you can explore all the skill trees I have available, plus the growing library at leandrawitchwood.com, or feel free to join my free community, the Rebel Mystic Coven, to learn more. All right, back to the conversation. You might experience a heightened sense of spiritual monitoring when you find this occurring, and track that. When did you experience that? What were you doing? Your rituals might feel observed rather than intimate. There might be an extra set of eyeballs there that doesn't feel quite right, doesn't quite fit in the circle that you've created. You might feel blocked off from your spirit team. Again, that psychic static that kind of interferes. You might have reoccurring dreams of someone observing and reporting. The same entity might show up repeatedly. And I want to stress this again. Patterns are what matter. These signs can also be caused by stress, burnout, trauma, anxiety, lack of grounding, lack of boundaries. So make sure you're checking yourself before you're jumping to any conclusions. Never jump to any conclusions. Really get yourself in a position where you are noticing the patterns, documenting the patterns. This is where your journal and documenting your experience is going to matter. Before you label anything, before you determine without a shadow of a doubt that you have a psychic spy watching you, make sure you're looking for the patterns and you're documenting them so you can go back and read when and where and what were you doing when this occurred. Now that we've discussed what a psychic spy is, how do you neutralize one? How do you remove one from your energetic field? There's many ways to remove a psychic narc. Removal is not warfare. Don't think that you're going into battle. It is a boundary you need to enforce. You deserve privacy. I am going to lead you through a simple neutralization method that works best in the short term. And so if you are seeing patterns, if you believe that you are being observed, this is a great way to counter it. Now, this is not a permanent fix. It might work for a little while, but then you'll have to go deeper if it stops working. So keep that in mind. There might be a much deeper level to the attachment if this only works for a short amount of time. So let's get yourself into a comfortable position, feet on the ground, ground out your energy, become fully present in your body, breathe deeply. Don't disassociate, no panic, no paranoia. When you're fully in your body, when your breath is in rhythm, when you're at ease, I want you to state aloud that your field is your sovereign boundary. It is closed to observation without explicit consent. And you can state that in any way you like. Make it a rhyme, make it a song, scream it to the heavens. Whatever works for you, do it. I want you to see either the person that you know it's coming from or the entity that they're sending I want you to feel the sensation, whatever it is that comes to you in that. And once you have it clearly visualized or sensed, I want you to draw up a psychic shield around you. Think of it, it can be a bubble, it can be a fortress, it can be a wall of thorns. Whatever suits the energy, whatever you feel is adequate. And I want you to make this your psychic shield. And I want you to energetically, actively, and purposefully cut off their energy. They can no longer see you. They can no longer interact with your activities, your emotions, your spells, your energetic field. And as you draw up this barrier between you and the psychic spy, visualize yourself through their eyes as you dissolve away. You become non-visible. You fade from their vision. You fade so much they can no longer see you. You are invisible to them. The only thing that remains is your boundary around you, your energetic and psychic boundary. And we're not doing this in anger. We're not doing this with force. We're doing this with our authority because you deserve privacy. If you have a guardian spirit in your spirit team, it is time to call them forward. Call them forward and ask them to help you hold the line. Employ your spirit team to help you in the way you need the most help. To help you remain invisible to the psychic spies. And as you will it, so mote it be. Keep in mind, this is a simple fix. It may not last long, especially if you have poor boundaries or you forget to call back your energy, cleanse your energy, and protect your energy. Just as you put this barrier up, it can come down. So, daily reinforcement is going to be something you want to actively and progressively engage in. Daily grounding, calling your energy back. And as you call it back, you are cleansing it of anything that might be attached to it. Regular energetic hygiene. I can't stress that enough. Clear ritual and spell work, openings and closing, creating that space, calling and casting your circle of protection around your workings. And if you are unsure how to do that, check out the Rebel Mystic Witchcraft skill trees. I have a skill tree specifically on calling and casting that will help you. And of course, regular check ins with your guardian spirits. These are all things you need to do on a regular basis to keep your energy protected, to keep your comings and goings out of the vision of those who should not know what you're doing or what you're up to. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to be obsessively scanning yourself. I don't want you to escalate this into psychic combat. I don't want you to walk around assuming that everyone is watching you. I don't want you to assume that you're under constant observation or psychic attack. Remember to recognize the patterns before jumping to any conclusion. In closing, sovereignty over suspicion is our goal. The goal of this episode is not to induce paranoia. It is about reasonable vigilance. It's about trusting yourself. Your sovereignty does not live in obsession or fear. Your sovereignty lives in clarity and good boundaries. Psychic hygiene and protection they're essential skills. like emotional regulation and healthy communication. We're not here to put ourselves in constant crisis response where we have to put out fires every day. You do not need to see enemies everywhere in order to be powerful or to be seated in your power. What you do need is grounded presence, solid boundaries, and active discernment. Take what is useful to you and leave the rest. And if this episode resonated with you, I hope you will join me in the Rebel Mistake Coven, where I lead monthly classes and we talk about things like this: psychic defense and owning our sovereignty. You are not alone. You are not powerless. You are sovereign. So until next time, walk gently, see clearly, and root yourself.